Hey guys, Blastlight here, just here for the third devlog type video for my current project, Midsummer Night Fight. This is going to be the last of the series, besides the actual finale video where I show off the full prototype. Yeah, so let's just kind of get straight into it, tell you guys what's new, and we'll go from there. So first off, we can move, we can still use the camera, we can still lock onto the enemy, we can still unlock onto the enemy. We can use our basic attack, we can use our basic combo, and then we can pull up the battle menu to show that time has indeed paused when you pull this up. We can't move around anymore, but it allows us to strategically plan out our next move. Magic button reads in the current magic actions that are attached to the active player. End turn now actually completely ends the turn early, that way you can, maybe have strategic placement. Skill and item doesn't have anything attached to it because this is really gonna be more of a tutorial thing, like a first battle. We have an HP, SP, and a time bar. The time bar, when that reaches 0, that controls when it becomes the next turn. If I just quickly close the battle menu here, and we'll see that time does resume, and then you can pause it again. We can use special moves, so let's use Aura Blast. It has a little charge time. That's when we're flashing red to show that we're about to use a move. It spawns in an object that goes to the direction of the current attacked enemy, and then applies some knockback, and the enemy just hit the wall there. So let's move, and then we did indeed drain SP from the bar. So a lot of the changes that happened this time was with the enemy and the fact that turns are now actually continuous until someone wins. I move a little closer, and then if I move close enough, our time bar will end. And let's just pause here. So let's show off the new features. So the enemy works with the aggro controller, which you can kind of see here on the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Basically, every enemy has aggro on each player character in battle. And essentially what happens is when that enemy activates their turn, it determines who it wants to attack based on that aggro, and then this defensive battle menu will appear for the player character that is being attacked, and then the camera will transition to whoever that is as well. That way you know who's getting attacked and you can kind of prepare for what's about to happen. So we have the guard and evade buttons on this. The other two buttons would be dedicated to player counters that they're able to set during their turn. But for this, the guard button makes it so that you take less damage and less knockback, and the evade button makes it so that you take no damage and no knockback, but for a shorter amount of time and a longer recharge period. So let's use guard here. So basically what happened there is I used the guard ability, and then it's active for about 2 seconds. Right now the visual is just that you turn green, just to kind of show it off. I lowered the cooldown period for that here too, so it will appear a lot faster than it does in the other scenes. But yeah, so as you can see, we took a very small amount of damage as opposed to usual, and I'm gonna unpause this here. And then the enemy is going to continue to do a follow-up attack because it still has time points remaining, and we'll go from there. So as you can see, the enemy's time bar is draining again, and the enemy is coming towards me to use another attack. So I'm going to try to use evade here. Like I said, the timing is a lot more important, because the enemy does, essentially you need to use it when the enemy flashes red to show that he's about to attack. It's only active for a very short period of time, so let's use that here. Yeah, so perfect. That worked out incredibly. If you missed it, that's because it's a very quick process because there's no animations on this. Basically, I flashed white, which showed that the evade was active. When I turn back blue, the evade ends, and we completely avoided the enemy's attack and took no damage and no knockback. And then since the enemy's time points were basically gone, it ended their turn, and now it's my turn again. So you can use it very strategically because think of it like this. If I evaded the first attack, right? Yeah, sure, I'm gonna take no damage from that attack. But on the enemy's second attack, the evade won't be up again, so I won't be able to evade that second attack. So I'm gonna take damage, and I'm gonna be knocked back further from the enemy. So it creates this really interesting dynamic of basically, let's say the enemy is about to use a really powerful attack in the beginning of their turn. You want to evade that attack, so you take no damage and no knockback from the strongest attack? Or do you want to wait till the enemy's turn is about to end, avoid a weaker attack, and then start your turn right next to the enemy so you can wail on them, like so. Like I said, I think it creates a very interesting kind of player choice, because you can choose how you want to evade and how you want to guard against enemy attacks. And then of course, once you throw in counters too, it creates a very interesting active enemy turn that you aren't just sitting there taking damage like you would in a turn-based RPG. In a traditional turn-based RPG, that is. So I'm just gonna end my turn here because I don't want to take out this enemy here. I'm gonna kind of move away a little bit, and we're gonna show off the enemy's counter. So I'm just gonna take this damage. I do think I'm a little close to the wall. Okay, perfect. So now the enemy, as you can see, it used 2 attacks, and then it has this red circle around it. So this is what is known as an enemy's counter move. This is a trigger counter. It's one of 3 types. There are active, passive, and trigger counters. Right now the trigger counter is the only one that exists. So basically what they are is, if you walk into that zone on your turn, the enemy activates its counter. It's essentially a way to give danger on the player's turn as well. And the one thing that was really interesting is, you might be wondering, well, why didn't the enemy use this on the other turn? It used 2 attacks and then ended its turn, and then on this turn it used 2 attacks and then used the counter. That's because this is a very intelligent AI system. Basically, because it would be unfair to the player, we have it so that if you would start your turn in an enemy's trigger counter, the enemy's not allowed to use it. Just think of it like this. You're playing a game, I'm in melee range of this guy, he decides to use a trigger counter that when I enter, it's going to activate and it's going to deal damage to me. And I start my turn already in it and it automatically activates. That just wouldn't be fair, and that wouldn't be fun, and no player would enjoy that. So we have it so that if you're already inside it, the enemy's not allowed to use it. And if they had additional counters on it, like a passive counter, like if you just deal magic damage to the enemy, it uses something, it would use that instead. Let me show off what happens when you activate it, and then how you can get around it. So I'll do the first one. So if I go into the counter, we take knockback and we take damage, and we take a lot of damage. We're almost dead, actually. So we'll be careful on this next turn. But it also really hurts the player, because now we have to waste more time points to even get close to the enemy. Now, in order to get around this counter, I can't get close enough to use any basic attacks. That's why the count is there, is to teach that, actually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use Aura Blast here. And as you can see, the projectile is going over the zone, but the actual counter isn't activating because it's not a player, duh. So if I close this off here and we just actually let it happen, inflicts knockback on the enemy, and yeah, that's how you get around these types of things. With the counters, the way that they operate is that if you inflict knockback on the enemy, it's going to essentially be staggered out of the counter. Think about it like this: if the enemy's in position getting ready to use something, and all of a sudden you knock him out of that position, they're not going to be able to use it anymore. That's the same methodology that operates there. And yeah, that's really about it. We are essentially done with the prototype. All I'm gonna do is just throw together an actual tutorial scene to kind of teach you all these mechanics that I've been describing in these videos, and also a the rush system, just a little tutorial or a little playground, so you can try that out. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.